This is really very clever.
You figured it out then?
Yes, Xavier's idea was to use an alchemical process similar to what Dharma and I just did to treat the coals. Elements left over from weaving flame strands distilled and used to treat magma.
Literal magma? The blood of the earth?
Enchanted magma. Measured precisely from one of Xavier's containers, he could delicately control temperature in a forge or foundry.
Sola will be over the moon. I'll let her know.
And I'll collate the more technical details. They'll be ready when she is. Hope you're not afraid of diving into bottomless pits.
Hardly. Maybe a little. Why?
Despite the grand gates no longer functioning, there is a more direct way to reach the source. By dropping straight down into a rift in Lower Denevron.
You know, last time I wanted to charge into a restricted area, you weren't so sure it was a great idea.
People change. And sometimes people change you. Maybe I've learned a thing or two about calculated risk-taking from you. And the prospect of securing the source makes this a risk worth taking.
This is only one piece of the puzzle. The axle isn't going to budge until we figure out a way to lessen the tangles at the source.
With good reason. We don't want you to fry down there. Exactly as I theorized. Era's plague is little more than a stigmatized condition with a perfectly rational explanation.
Which is?
A perfect storm of family traits and lifestyle choices, exaggerated by circumstance. Diet, athletics, and sleep all factor in.
Casmin hasn't been sleeping much.
Might be worth presenting this research to her to see if the rest resonates.
Good idea.
Oria and I will join you when you're ready.
Magma? Can you believe it?
Is it not lava?
I thought it was only lava if it bubbled up from underground. But now I'll have to ask Lane.
You heard the news then?
Oh, I'm sorry, Bryn. We ruined the surprise.
It's fine. Just nice to see you so happy.
We're confident that between the two of us, we can make Xavier's plan work.
And I'm keen to try it out. I was up sketching all night, and I have an idea for some armor to act as a test. If it works, we'll gather more. The veil has to open someday, and with this magma, we could be on the road for months.
Or maybe we'll stay. Either option provides you many potential students.
Or maybe, just maybe,
We could do both.
we'll make it work. After we get this bloody enclave sorted out. Right, Bryn?
I have every faith we will.
Fit for a point. That's an intimidating silhouette. Use these well.
Casmin, we need to talk.
Could it wait? I'm in the middle of touch counting the armory.
No, it can't.
We've been worried about you.
I'm fine. Seriously, don't worry about me.
No one has seen you sleep in days. You're clearly hiding 2 bands worth of supplies behind the caravan shutters. And half the time you're talking a league a minute about catastrophes that are never going to happen. We can't let you keep going like this.
No. Maybe I've been a little off lately, but I'm fine, seriously. I'm just trying to keep our Weaver band prepared in case... I just want us all to be safe.
We are safe.
Kaz, I've been doing research on a condition you might know as Ira's plague.
I'm not possessed.
We know.
The Enclave's studies on Ira's plague concluded that it's not a religious affliction, but a disorder of the mind. The sufferer experiences a cycle of relentless, disturbing thoughts and all manner of compulsions to fix them, including hoarding. Though it may be passed on through families, this condition is often exacerbated by a lack of sleep.
Bryn found a diary belonging to a Cassil man in Denevron who suffered from this. I think you should read it. He describes the intrusive visions that began after the birth of his son. Horrible fears he would drop his baby that he was so ashamed of, he couldn't share them with anyone.
That's awful.
It reached a point where he couldn't hold his own child, until he sought help.
So you're saying, if I have Ira's plague, there's a cure?
We found evidence of a treatment, yes. We'd need to talk to someone at Cassidin's Hold to know more.
But we didn't want to speak to someone outside the Weaver Band on your behalf without talking to you first.
I don't know.
None of this is your fault. It's okay to get help. We all need it from time to time.
But no one else seems to need help. Everyone else is handling being here just fine, and I'm the only one having a breakdown.
Hey, it could be any one of us tomorrow. And I know for a fact that if this were happening to anyone else, you'd cut them some slack.
She's right. It's hard for all of us to see you suffering like this. We care about you, and we just want you to be okay.
Fine. You can talk to the Weavers in Cassidon's Hold. I can't promise. I'm still not sure about all of this.
We'll go one step at a time.
You sure you don't want to run away, screaming?
What? Why?
Nothing. Never mind.
Come on. Seriously. What are you talking about?
It's just... That's generally the reaction that sufferers of Era's plague get across the Maida Basin. After all, Era only stalks the wicked for penance.
Have you ever told anyone else about these visions you're having?
Only one person. My mother.
I take it she wasn't very supportive?
I'll never forget how she looked at me. Like she was terrified. She told me to keep my impure visions to myself, and that if I behaved, eventually Era would leave me alone.
How old were you?
5. I had just started school, and I was struggling with being away from my parents to attend classes. Images of them murdered by bandits while I was away hounded me during the 6 hours I spent outside the home. I swallowed my fears, though, hoping, as my mother told me, that if I was good and went to school, the visions would stop.
Kaz, you do so much for other people. What could you possibly have to repent for?
I don't know. At all hours of the day, a voice is howling at me for never being good enough. Never hitting the mark. It's all I can hear. How am I supposed to ignore it?
Lane's research indicates that with treatment, you can, though.
I think if you knew how awful I really am, and how much I deserve to be reminded of it, you wouldn't say that.
Kasmin, we know you, and we accept you as you are.
We'll see.
Are you religious yourself?
I don't really know anymore. My mother was deeply religious, so I was raised to believe in the Southern gods. I always accepted them as real, but lately, I've begun to question.
How so?
I mean, if what you've discovered is true, and the visions I have aren't penance from the goddess of justice, I've been hanging on to a lot of self-contempt for nothing.
That is a heavy burden to carry out of faith. Even if Era actually was out for you, I still wouldn't run. Anyone who cares about you knows you're not a threat.
I wish I felt as sure of that as you do.
In time, I'll be able to say, I told you so.
Maybe.
What's all this, big guy?
The culmination of all our efforts, Bryn.
He wanted it to be a surprise.
Consider me impressed. But what exactly does it do?
He hasn't told you?
As Kasmin said, I wanted it to be a surprise.
Sev, we all do better work with context. This is something you're going to need to get used to.
Yeah. You're a weaver now. I heard you say so yourself.
It's the culmination of an Orion dream. But unlike them, I'm not going to use it to put a nation in a stranglehold. No. I'm going to change the weather. For you.
For me?
Yes. It will take some resources, so let's be judicious, but yes. We can change the weather before your expeditions.
So all those patterns I collected.
Critical to calibrating things. Weather and miasma alike. The creatures have been exposed to so many wild environmental swings. They were affected in ways I could use to calibrate to the aerolift's patterns.
And that's what Dom was helping with?
Everyone has helped Bryn. Literally everyone. No politics, no backstabbing. I could get used to this.
Good. All that stuff wastes time and energy.
You said this will take resources. Am I hunting more patterns, or...?
Nothing so dire.
Bryn, you've got enough to worry about. Let us sort it. We'll treat it just like upgrading the camp. Maybe I end up trading with the Hearthsiders. Maybe we do a little alchemy. We'll handle it.
Well, this is incredible. What's involved with actually making it happen?
Well, it's not simple for me. But for you, I'll keep it simple. If we want to make a change before you leave, we can do it as part of the preparation. The aerolifts are all connected. And the device we created will let me give them let's call it a shove, for a day or so.
We've run some limited tests, and everything holds up. It's really rather ingenious.
And we'll give you quite the edge. Imagine tossing a drought when a frost creature is hunting.
It can affect my asthma, too, yes?
Yes. And since, thanks to you, I know exactly where the source is. I'm confident I can help you clear a path. Clear enough that the Ark of Verdance should be able to keep you safe at any rate.
Sounds like the last piece of our plan. Should I call the Axle?
When you're ready, we are.
Mochi, mochi.
You look like you've got something on your mind, Sev.
I'm struggling a little, perhaps. I find myself torn.
Between Casmin's stews and Darn's spiced pork? Same.
Pork. Stew gets in my fur. That aside, I find myself both wanting to tear down the Norians and redeem them. Surely not everything they did was self-serving politics. There had to be some craft or artistry behind it.
That's the part of Norian-ness that appeals to you?
Recently I found records, experiments to improve flow rates across the tapestry.
Better pipes?
Pretty much. The team was working on it right around the time the surge hit.
Any idea where?
Not too far from here. Odd they'd set up in a swamp, but perhaps it was a stress test.
We're going to have to fix the Enclave eventually. Better pipes can't hurt. I'll check it out.
You are tireless, Bryn.
I can sleep when I'm dead. Though as a point, I might be tempting fate by saying that.
You're right. But we all notice how hard you work. I know what it feels like to work without praise. Feels good to shine a little sun on your achievements.
right, everyone. Let's give Khan Atame the rundown.
Using the aerolifts, I can trigger a miasma everywhere they affect above ground.
It is advised that your people remain indoors during this process.
The miasma will flow from the source, which will lessen the raw magic enough to keep Bryn safe while she escorts the Ark.
And how is she going to get there without the Grand Gate?
She'll drop in through the rift in Lower Denevron.
Skies, of course she will.
Don't worry. I've got plenty of experience scaling down cliffs.
Once she's in the underworks, she'll stay within the Ark's protective field and follow it to the source where it will fulfill its purpose, to pacify the Tangles.
And what about the Herald?
That's where you're going to need to trust me.
You really think you can do this?
Growing up in a freehold in Carnhaven, joining a weaver band seemed impossible. Then opportunity struck, I jumped on it. In my first weaver band, becoming a point seemed impossible. Then I met Aurea. And not too long ago, being the first to enter the Enclave in half a century seemed impossible. Yet here we are. What I'm about to do feels impossible. But that's how I like it.
So? What do you say?
Kenrick lied to us for decades. It's hard to believe anyone who says they're going to take care of the Surgeborn now. But with how open you've been, and everything you've done for us already, you've earned my trust. We will stay and fight for our hearth.
Thank you.
Bryn, I'll coordinate with Zev. When you're ready, come see me. Happy to have you over here, Zev.
Happy to be here.
Have I ever told you how much I enjoy watching your expeditions on the Scry?
You too?
Look, it's no secret that when Aurea injured her wing, I was skeptical of you taking over expeditions. So I started watching you to make sure things were going well.
You mean, to make sure I didn't screw up?
Fine. That's what I was doing. At least at first. On one of your first expeditions into the Hollow, I watched you take a swing at that massive Archon thinking it was inactive. Then, when its eye lit up, these visions of you dying started swarming me. I panicked and asked Aurea if you were ready for this, hoping she'd pull you out immediately. Then you began climbing the Ark. And it was like everything in my head just went quiet. That does not happen often. You had this serene look on your face. Like this was exactly the challenge you'd been waiting a lifetime for.
It was.
When you took it down without breaking a sweat, I was secretly pretty impressed.
I like hearing you had faith in me, even back then.
It's only grown tenfold. After that, I enjoyed watching you on the Scry. Knowing you're out there, keeping all of us safe, relaxes me and keeps the visions at bay.
So, I strongly suspect shenanigans, but also thank you.
About the stove?
Oh, absolutely. But shenanigans almost always come from a place of love.
Or lead to one.
Well said. And this forge is going to be invaluable, so we all benefit, including the future students I'm imagining up.
Any standouts in your illusory class?
There's a shy, red-headed lad named Carlos. He's going to go far. I just know it.
How are you feeling about Sev, Sola?
Delighted.
Not upset to lose an apprentice?
I'll find more. Lots of talent among the Hearthsiders, according to the Axel. And that's perfect. They'll learn quick, just like Sev did. I'm proud of him. And controlling the weather itself. Incredible. I've learned from a lot of years on the road that change is the natural way of things.
Our time in the Enclave has certainly proven that.
Anticipating change and finding joy in it, the best thing you can do in your life.
You know, I can't stop thinking. Could Stannard have fixed the weather?
From what Sev said, the former I was more a political animal than an expert.
Yeah, that makes sense. If only he'd shared what he had access to with people who were halfway competent. Ugh. Anyway, I just hope Sev can keep digging. He's got a good head on his shoulders. Bryn, I was just thinking about how we managed to trap the heat of molten rock itself.
And you and your wife seem through a complicated patch?
I never doubted we would find a way through. This time was different than the other spats we've had. I am very grateful for your help. I would not know what to do without Sola. She is very much my guiding star.
You're welcome. You big romantic. Just keep talking to her, and the nights will be cloudless.
Indeed. Indeed.
It's nice to have the camp stove working properly again. Even if it took Casmin quietly tossing our coal supply into the hollow one night to make it happen.
Wait, she did?
Maybe I shouldn't have mentioned that. But Dharm and Sola have reconciled, which I suspect was her whole plan, so hopefully it's okay. Still, Kaz doesn't like for people to know she's a romantic at heart.
Oh, well, I am very glad you mentioned this. Thank you, Lane.
Just go easy on the teasing. I don't want her to serve my stew cold all week.
So, I was having a chat with Lane.
Oh?
Said something about you stashing coal outside the camp.
Oh, gods, they saw that?
Sure did.
Oh, I was so careful. Listen, Bryn, you know why I did it, right?
Because our enchanter and smith need to keep working together.
Yes, and they need to keep talking. They're so good together. So, I did what I had to. Just don't tell anyone, okay?
Kaz,
Yeah?
I think everyone knows. Except maybe Dharm.
Gods, that's embarrassing.
You might want to sneak that coal back into the stocks at some point.
Already did. It was distracting to know the count was wrong.
Oh, Bryn! How did it go?
It worked amazingly. In fact, I was almost too cold.
I must have prepared it incorrectly. Perhaps too much stirring.
I'm kidding, Lane. It was perfect.
Your elevated wit eludes me once again.
If you two are done flirting with each other, it's excellent to hear that the potions worked. Lane, what sort of quantities can we produce for the scouts?
As much as you need. It's not hard to make.
That's very good news. I wonder why the Eye never explored this as an option.
I would assume the reason sits somewhere between lack of care and gross negligence. Speaking of the Eye, Bryn, the Axel and I had a chance to sit and talk for a while. Would you believe that she isn't his biggest fan either?
Not in a million years.
We were indeed not very cordial with each other at the best of times.
In particular, the way he kept secrets rubbed us both the wrong way. We found ourselves in agreement that any new government here should be built on a foundation of trust and respect.
A foundation that will only be built if we secure our survival. Lane and I don't agree on everything, but it was good to sit and speak with someone who understands the nature of the work I'm doing.
It's not every day that one has the privilege of watching a new order emerge.
Perhaps you will be here to document it.
I should like that very much. The story of a new enclave should be made available to all. Every detail, out in the light. I'm struck with inspiration. I need to return to base camp and get started on my history. To be here as it's being written. To be the one writing it. Oh, what a privilege.
Oh, they're gone. Do they always do that?
Yes. It's my favorite thing about them. Their thoughts grab them by the hair and steer them around.
You're very sweet together.
Thank you. It's fairly early days, but I like them. A lot.
That's all that matters in the end, really. Well, with my mind at ease, for now, at least, I will thank you and bid you farewell. My list of petitions is smaller by one, for the moment.
We're here to help. Talk later. Listen, I know we've had our differences, but my friend is in trouble.
Helping you is hardly what I want to be doing right now. What is it then?
Have you heard of an affliction known as Era's Plague?
I have.
I believe our quartermaster is suffering from it.
Don't say her name. Regardless, the condition isn't unique to Kashar, but it's believed they experience it in greater severity due to their Ram, Oberon, Ashar, and Kasil alike have
Do you know of a cure?
Not a cure, but a treatment.
Well, will you help me or not? If she was still here, I'd be going to her instead of you. And we both know she would want you to help me.
You did lay my daughter to rest. As Khan Arteme so cuttingly pointed out, a sleeping balm will help her, but it's not enough on its own.
Did your daughter ever experience Era's Plague?
No. Though when she was born, her mother sought out the sleeping balm recipe in case she ever needed it, being Kashar. Foresight on her part.
You've never spoken of your wife.
She died, tragically, in an Ark attack just before our withdrawal.
If the sleeping balm won't cure Casmin, what else will we need to do to help her?
There is no cure for Ira's plague, only management. Sleep will put her on the right track, but she needs to stop giving in to the compulsions that stem from...
She has a long road ahead of her.
If she's strong enough, she'll walk it.
The Enclave's research shows Era's Plague has nothing to do with religion. Is there a more accurate name for this condition?
I suppose our academics were more concerned with treating the affliction than finding a more suitable moniker.
Still, the name's association with sin...
Should it matter what the condition is called if those suffering aren't strong enough to overcome it?
Wow. Empathy is one of your charms. How do I get a hold of a sleeping balm?
I suppose I can make one for you here if you bring me the ingredients. You'll need emerald lucent, a gemstone famed for its ability to radiate peace, and chill feather weave for its cooling. In addition to this, you'll need oil membrane for the formula, and of course red cotton because it filters the light so that the eyes find deep.
I'll bring those to you right away.
As you wish.